Gather round, everyone, because today I've got a ghost story for you, a Christmas ghost story, to be exact. And this one is absolutely 100% true, well, mostly true. It's a story that's been passed down through my family for generations, a tale of suspense, mystery, and a slightly unstable wreath. Our story begins way back in 1867, on a frigid December evening in rural Maine. Picture this, a cozy little farmhouse, snow piling up outside, the wind howling like a lonely wolf. Inside, the Thompson family was gathered around a crackling fire, the air filled with the scent of pine and roasting chestnuts. It was the picture of Christmas perfection. But perfection, as we all know, can be deceiving. On their front door hung a magnificent Christmas wreath, lovingly crafted by Mrs. Thompson herself. It was made of fragrant balsam fir, dotted with bright red holly berries and tied with a velvet ribbon. It was the first thing anyone saw when they approached the house, a symbol of holiday cheer and welcome. But this wreath had a secret, a restless spirit, if you will. As the family sat sipping warm cider, a sudden sound echoed through the quiet house. Thud. It wasn't a loud crash, more like a soft, heavy bump against the front door. Mr. Thompson peered over his spectacles. What in tarnation was that? His youngest son, little Timmy, who was about 8, jumped up. "It's the Christmas ghost," he whispered, his eyes wide. Mrs. Thompson chuckled, patting his head. "Nonsense, dear. It's just the wind." Mr. Thompson, ever the practical farmer, went to investigate. He opened the door, and there, lying in the freshly fallen snow on the porch, was the beautiful wreath. He sighed, picked it up, brushed off the snow, and carefully hung it back on the nail. "Just a strong gust," he announced, closing the door firmly. The family went back to their peaceful evening. But not for long, maybe 10 minutes passed. They were just starting to sing a carol when, thud, the same soft, muffled sound from the front door. This time, a nervous silence fell over the room. Even Mrs. Thompson looked a little unsettled. "All right," Mr. Thompson said, his voice a little less confident this time. "This is getting strange." He went to the door again. And again the wreath was on the ground. This time he examined the nail, the ribbon, the door itself. Everything seemed perfectly fine. He hung the wreath back up, giving it a little tug to make sure it was secure. "There," he declared. "It's not going anywhere now." He was wrong. Thud, it happened again, and again, and again. Each time the wreath fell, the family's imagination ran wilder. Was it the ghost of old Silas Croft, the grumpy farmer who used to own the land? Maybe he didn't approve of their holiday decorations. The older children started telling stories they'd heard from the village elders, tales of mischievous sprites who played tricks on unsuspecting families during the longest nights of the year. Little Timmy was now hiding behind the armchair, convinced the Christmas ghost was trying to get in. The atmosphere in the once cozy farmhouse had grown thick with tension. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the window panes made them jump. The wreath became a symbol of some unseen force, a playful but persistent spirit that had decided to make their home its holiday playground. Mr. Thompson, a man who didn't believe in spirits or spooks, was starting to question his own sanity. After the 5th time it fell, he'd had enough. He wasn't going to be beaten by a piece of foliage, haunted or not. "All right, that's it," he exclaimed, grabbing his lantern. "I'm getting to the bottom of this." He stomped to the door, flung it open, and instead of just picking up the wreath, he brought it inside. He set it on the kitchen table and marched back out into the cold, determined to solve the mystery of the falling wreath once and for all. He brought the lantern right up to the door, squinting at the nail. At first glance, it looked fine. It was an old, sturdy iron nail, driven deep into the thick oak door, but then he looked closer. He ran his finger over it, and that's when he saw it. The nail wasn't straight. It was bent ever so slightly at a downward angle. It wasn't a sharp bend, just a gentle, almost imperceptible slope. He pieced it all together. When he hung the wreath, the heavy bundle of fur and wire would sit precariously on the very tip of this sloped nail. It would hold for a few minutes, maybe even 10. But then, the slightest vibration, a gust of wind hitting the door. Someone walking heavily across the floor. Even the house settling in the cold would be just enough to cause the ribbon to slide, inch by inch, down the gentle slope of the nail until, thud, it fell to the porch. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a mischievous sprite. It was simple, mundane physics. Mr. Thompson let out a long, slow breath, a cloud of steam in the frosty air. Then he started to laugh, a deep, hearty laugh that cut through the spooky silence. He called his family to the door, showed them the culprit, the slightly bent nail. The tension instantly vanished, replaced by waves of relief and amusement. Little Timmy peeked out from behind the chair, his fear turning to fascination. Mr. Thompson didn't have another nail handy, and it was too cold to try and fix it that night. So he came up with a very clever, farmer-esque solution. He went to the pantry, got a small potato, and jammed it onto the end of the bent nail. Then he hung the wreath back up, its ribbon now securely held in place by the potato. It looked a little ridiculous, a Christmas wreath with a potato for an anchor, but it worked. The wreath didn't fall again for the rest of the night. From that day on, the story became a cherished piece of Thompson family lore. Every Christmas, as they hung the wreath, always checking the nail first, someone would inevitably say, "Remember the great haunting of 1867? And they'd all laugh, retelling the story of the night they were terrorized by a bent nail. The haunting of the slightly unstable wreath, as they called it, became their own special Christmas ghost story, a tale that terrified absolutely no one but delighted everyone. It's a reminder that sometimes the scariest things are just figments of our imagination, and the real explanation is often much simpler and funnier than we think. And it just goes to show even a potato can save Christmas. So next time you hear a strange bump in the night during the holidays, before you call the ghost hunters, maybe just check for a bent nail. Thanks for listening to my family's not-so-spooky story. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more tailies. Happy holidays, everyone.